The next subtopic for cell division, chapter 3, is the cell cycle, 3.2. Okay, so in this subtopic, you must be able to explain the stages in the cell cycle. So the keywords is stages in the cell cycle. So there are two main stages in the cell cycle, which are interphase and mitotic phase, or sometimes also being referred to as M phase. So these are the two stages of the cell cycle. Okay, so ni adalah gambar raja to show the two main stages of cell cycle. Okay, so starting at this point up until right before the M phase. So this is interphase, the first stage of the cell cycle. After the interphase has completed, so the cell will enter mitotic phase or the M phase. So during the M phase, only then the cell will undergo mitosis and cytokinesis, okay, which is the cell division. So as we can see in this diagram, interphase can be divided into three phases. So the first one is G1 phase, the second is S phase or DNA synthesis, the third one is G2 phase. Okay, so hati-hati sikit, interphase is stage. M phase or mitotic phase is also being referred to as the stage of the cell cycle. Kalau phases, so for interphase there are three phases, G1, S and G2 phase. Okay, for the M phase there are two phases, which are mitosis and cytokinesis. Okay, so mitotic phase and mitosis is not the same thing. So mitosis refers to the karyokinesis. Cytokinesis is cytokinesis lah. Okay, so mitosis plus cytokinesis, these two processes barulah kita panggil sebagai M phase ataupun mitotic phase. Okay, so what is a cell cycle? So cell cycle is an ordered or a complete sequence of events in a life of a cell. So semua cell will have a cell cycle. One cycle of the cell cycle. As I mentioned earlier, there are two major stages of the cell cycle. So which is interphase and M phase or mitotic phase. So what happened during interphase? So interphase is where a period of cell undergoing growth, cell untuk membesar. So during this time, the DNA in the nucleus also will undergo synthesis ataupun replicates. Next, during the M phase, this is where the cell division takes place, which involve mitosis and cytokinesis. So remember, M does not refer to mitosis. M refers to mitotic. Okay, so what happened during the first gap phase or G1 phase of the interphase? Okay, so what happened during G1 phase? So during G1 phase, this is where the cell will undergo growth and normal metabolism. Okay, so G1 phase is the longest phase of the interphase. As the cell grows during G1 phase, the volume of the cytoplasm will also increase. Next, during G1 phase as well, synthesis of protein, carbohydrates and lipid also takes place. Okay, so this is another reason why the volume of the cytoplasm increase during G1 phase. During G1 phase, there is also increase in the number of organelles. Next is S phase or the synthesis phase of the interphase. So during this phase, as the name suggests, this is where DNA synthesis occur, or basically means that DNA undergo a process called DNA replication. Okay, pada masa ni lah, apa yang berlaku, daripada satu copies of DNA, setiap sel sekarang akan ada 2 copies of DNA. Okay, tetapi 2 copies of DNA tersebut still melekat dekat centromere yang sama. Okay, so at this point, kita panggil each copy of the DNA sebagai sister chromatids. So kenapa dia sister? Sebab it is genetically identical. Okay, ingat, genetically identical maksudnya the gene composition between the two sister chromatids are identical. Okay, next, G2 phase or second gap phase. So during this phase of the interphase, the cell will continue to grow. So basically dia sambung balik apa yang dia buat semasa G1 phase. Okay, dia sambung process of growing and then produce new proteins. At the same time, it will also increase the number of some of the organelles, especially mitochondrion. Why? Because mitochondria will produce the energy. Okay, that will increase the energy storage that is required for the M phase to take place. So now, M phase or mitotic phase. So during this stage, remember, the term is stage, but the name is phase. Okay, during this stage of the cell cycle, it includes both mitosis and cytokinesis. Okay, remember that mitosis refers to karyokinesis. Okay, which is the division of the karyon, the nucleus. Cytokinesis is the division of the cytoplasm. Okay, so this process of nuclear division and followed by division of the cytoplasm called cytokinesis. So here we can see the comparison between interphase and M phase. So interphase is the longest phase, which is about 90% of the life cycle of a cell. However, the M phase is the shortest part of the cell cycle, which is about 10% of the life cycle of a cell. Second, during interphase, this is where the cell will grow and prepare for the cell division. For M phase, it alternates with the interphase. So interphase has 3 subphases, which is G1, S and G2, but M phase have 2, which is karyokinesis and cytokinesis.